And now, broadcasting on StarWorldWideNetworks.com, it's time for the Cannabis Reporter Radio Show with Snowden Bishop. Listen in as Snowden interviews cannabis industry pioneers, marijuana experts, policymakers, medical practitioners, patients, and other amazing individuals with compelling stories to share. It all happens right now. Here's the Cannabis Reporter, Snowden Bishop.
Evergreen is calling.
Welcome back. Last week I spoke with J.P. Holyoak, a conservative dad who never smoked pot as a kid, and throughout most of his adulthood he was skeptical about the merits of cannabis. But that changed when he learned how medical marijuana could help his young daughter. Today he's a vocal advocate. As chairman of the Arizona campaign to regulate marijuana like alcohol, he's fighting for the rights of patients and parents, like himself, to have better access to the medicine they need. There are a lot of people out there who've recently discovered the incredible healing benefits of marijuana. Learning how to use it is the easy part. Chances are that on any given city block, there's a neighbor who'd be happy to share their knowledge. For those who don't like smoking marijuana, there are also many simple ways to medicate: vaping, pens, tinctures, oils, salves, and perhaps the most enjoyable, edibles. But edibles are hard to find, and if you aren't familiar with dosing, it's hard to manage. That's why I'm really excited to introduce our guest today. Chef Peyton Curry is the owner of Broad House, a popular eatery in Scottsdale, and moonlights as a cannabis chef, teaching people how to prepare medicated foods. We're just talking about pot brownies here. He makes recipes with whole grains, organic vegetables, oils, veggies, with recipes like crepes of wrath, am I there yet? Baked with kindness, and marinara sauce, and other dishes that make cannabis dosing fun for adults and children too. Welcome. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you. It's nice to see you.
I watched a talk recently. You were on a TEDx talk called Weediatrics.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I learned a lot about you on that, but I also learned a lot about some of the other things that you've done by just reading about you. And you give back an awful lot for a chef.
I do. I was a child once, so I think growing up, not having things given to you, but having the opportunity of having them be in front of you is important to me.
Yeah.
I know how much it costs to get me out of bed every day, which means I know my value and what I have to charge. Being a Gemini and a twin, I work well as a team. So I being me and others, or I being me is all of me.
Yeah.
And giving back's very important to us, whether it's the restaurant business or cannabis. It's all hospitality. It's taking care of the community and taking care of the people.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a noble way to be in the world for sure.
Well, thanks.
But I was very impressed by your commitment to really showing people how to have fun with their food, how to dose, how to make medicines that are enjoyable for children, particularly.
Yeah.
And I loved some of the names too. Tell me about how you decided to get into this.
Well, I'm a raging alcoholic. I don't drink anymore. The last time I drank, I got a DUI. I blew a .44.
Wow.
Yeah, it was almost 300 pounds. This is 4 years ago. And I was on my floor in my jail cell at that point, and I was withdrawing from alcohol, and I was in a jail cell. If it would have been opiates, I may have died. And while I was in there, I've always been a cannabis user since I was out of high school. I was captain of the sports teams in high school, and I thought I would marry the girl that I was dating in high school until I met the woman that I married. And it changed my life detoxing from alcohol because I'm a cook. And for me as a cook, why was I abusing my body so much with poison like alcohol when I'm feeding the community, whether it's schools down the street in Arcadia or the Broad House right down the street here from where we are in Scottsdale? I've always been focused on organic vegetables. And while I was having the DTs, which are an endocrine imbalance, right? You're having seizures pretty much, right? Your blood sugar's all off, your metabolism's whacked. I ended up being released from the jail cell that night. And the minute that I got home, I always remembered in high school people saying, well, I don't believe in cannabis, or I don't do the weed. Then I got to college and people were like, well, the only time I smoke weed is when I'm hungover, but it's not medicine. But if it makes you feel better when you're hungover, we don't have to have the medicine conversation, but I mean, just as logical humans, if it makes you feel better, then why can't it be considered therapeutic instead of medicine, right?
Right.
So when I went home as a cook, being around a lot of organic farmers, whether it's cannabis or dates or cherries or, whatever they're growing, I also knew a lot of cannabis farmers too, because Arizona was coming a long way in the cannabis movement, getting it legalized here for medicinal. At this time, I was done drinking. I was at my house. I needed to figure out how I could feel better at that moment. Not my depression, not my anxiety, not my obesity, none of that stuff. And I thought of the children, right? And this is me hungover, alcoholic Peyton on my floor, going, oh my God, if this child who has epilepsy, and I'm not comparing myself to a child with epilepsy or Dravet syndrome, but I am comparing my endocrine system to one that has some sort of imbalance. I made a tincture that afternoon, and a tincture normally has alcohol in it. Well, I'm an alcoholic. I'm not going to make tinctures with alcohol in it. It's not that it would make me drink my face off that day, but if I was sad or happy or celebrating, I'd be hammered. So I needed to develop a line of tinctures that was low in calorie, because I needed to lose weight, no alcohol, because I needed to stop drinking, and balanced, because I was going to be attacked by the media for my outspokenness.
Right.
Within 2 days, my hands stopped shaking.
Wow.
My body was craving food. Well, Peyton, that's called the munchies. Okay, I didn't say it was medicine. But it got me to eat. Alcohol didn't get me to eat until I'd been going so far that I would just feed my face. So then I started to look at cannabis truly as the vegetable that it is. It flowers, it seeds, it doesn't look like a tomato, but neither does a zucchini. It's all a vegetable.
Right, and it has nutritional benefit.
So when I started being aware and being focused on this life that this vehicle carries me around in, I started to understand, oh my God, America is not even looking at this plant as a vegetable. Politics have it so skewed that, well, it's not medicine. No, it's medicine. No one's even looking at it as a dietary happy place. It's full of probiotics. It's full of prebiotics. It's full of phytonutrients, right? So what I started doing was flipping the way that I looked at a lot of stuff. I was sober. I was aware. I was here right now. I woke up and I started to pick apart cannabis. And if you go to marijuanarecipes.com, you're going to see a lot of really fun recipes. And the reason why I want them on there is because I want you to understand your mother told you to eat your vegetables, and this is a vegetable, so listen to mama.
Right.
Listen to mama. But what you need to do is, it took me 4 years to get out of that place and to get to where I'm sitting in front of you today at 185 pounds. I smoke an ounce of weed a week. The state allows me to smoke 2.5 ounces in 10 days. There's no way I could do that. No way. But I smoke all day. I smoke with my coffee. I smoke with my lunch. I smoke with my dinner. And then I go to bed. I work a lot like you. I'm an entrepreneur, which means that I'm always jotting stuff down in random spots. And for me, I found a way to go away from Western medicine, which my whole family's all Western medicine. Johns Hopkins graduates, Northwestern grads, doctors, MDs, And for me, I'm the black sheep, but now I'm the green sheep, right?
Right.
Yeah, because now my family watched me transition. My mom was worried as all could be about my cannabis use as a 32-year-old male. This is 5 years ago. Mom, it's legal. I pay this money to the state. Instead of taking the SSRIs that you want me on and the Oxycontin and things like this for sports stuff, I'm using the most anti-inflammatory vegetable on the world, on the planet.
Right.
And I'm using it as a vegetable, which before you decarboxylate cannabis or before you turn on cannabis, it can't get you stoned. So what I did was I did Weediatrics, which I was asked by Ignite Phoenix to come and give this presentation to doctors and the public and have people look at this. This was 3 years ago already. have people look at this as kind of an icebreaker in the community.
Right.
Here's this celebrity chef, which later found out they were talking about me, on stage talking about cannabis, or the weed as they called it. So I was like, if you want to call it weed, then I'm going to call this weediatrics, because I'm going to have fun with it. If you
Why
won't
not?
allow me to call it cannabis as a nutrient-rich vegetable, because we're not there yet, I'll call it weed. I'm okay with that. But we're going to do weediatrics. So I started this program where we've helped almost a dozen kids in Arizona. We go into their homes. We help their mothers, usually. It's usually the mom. We help mom make medical tinctures at home, so she doesn't have to buy them at a dispensary, so that the only thing that mother is relying on is the tomatoes. Just get me the same tomatoes every time. That once you take the weed away from it and you look at it as a vegetable, just keep that Roma tomato or that Cherokee purple tomato coming across the table, and that mom will be happy. You make a tincture and it has alcohol. Well, it's a kid. Why are you giving a kid 40% by volume alcohol, or a guy like me? So we went in and we started making, if I couldn't get into the dispensaries because of the way these dispensary groups work, if I
Right.
couldn't get into it with this small town employee-owned edible company, I had to hit the brakes. So I stopped it and I started doing in-home tutorials, and that changed everyone's lives, because some of the dispensaries tell the parents with epileptic children to just eat it raw. Well, if you eat it raw, it's full of THCA, which is THC acid, which is the non-psychoactive form of cannabis. THCA is also great for anxiety because it doesn't bring on paranoia, because
Right.
you're not under psychosis.
Right.
It relieves the anxiety. It brings on a state of enlightenedness or euphoria, but you're not stoned because it's THCA acid. It is impossible for your endocrine system to get high off of THCA because of the chemical makeup. So in order to turn it from the vegetable cannabis to therapeutic, because we don't want to call it medicine, to therapeutic cannabis, you have to decarboxylate, which means just turning on Sweet Mary Jane. Without doing that, you might as well just take your money and throw it in the wind, because you're never making that conversion, because that conversion happens at a very specific temperature.
And for those who don't know, how do you decarboxylate cannabis? It's a dehydration in essence, right?
Yeah, you're knocking off carbon chains and you're doing things. We work with C4 Labs, which is a lab in Mesa, which is a local company here. Swiss is the guy's name. We call him that. He's like a Swiss Army knife. He can do anything with cannabis. So we go there and make sure that we're hitting these right temperatures. So what I've found in the last 4 years, and I charge a lot of money when I go out of state to do this kind of stuff, but for people, I'd give them out this information for free on marijuana recipes.
Right.
Take your cannabis, and if you're going to do this, do it with an ounce of shake. Don't go out and spend $400 on an ounce of trim, on an ounce of buds if this is your first time. Buy an ounce of trim or shake. Put it in a glass Pyrex dish, 1 ounce. Put your cannabis that's ground, it's already shaked, so it's kind of ground up. Put that in the Pyrex dish. And then if you don't want to cover it with aluminum foil because you don't like that kind of stuff in your family, you can simply put a glass dish on top. Those Pyrex all come with a nice, lid that you can put on it.
Right.
You then take the cannabis in that Pyrex dish with the lid on. Then you put it in the oven. Then you hit 240 degrees on. You do not preheat it before. If you preheat it before, it burns off or vaporizes a lot of the exterior material, and you'll end up losing some of the potency.
Right.
Right. So after 40 minutes, for 1 ounce of cannabis, it's 40 to 50 minutes, depending on how dry your bud is. You want it to smell like Christmas in your house. If it starts to smell like cannabis, it's activating those terpenes, flavonoids, all those beautiful properties in marijuana. If you don't cover it, a lot of that stuff just goes right up into the air.
Right.
So keep it covered.
Covered.
Yep. And then you take that out, and then you have your warm fat. I use medium chain triglycerides, which is a fancy way of saying coconut oil.
Okay.
Right. Cannabis hates vegetable oil. Cannabis hates vegetable glycerin because it's made for mammals. It's made
Yeah.
for people that have cannabinoids in their fat.
Right.
Butter,
Yeah.
cream. Avocado oil is one that we found after 3 years carried a stronger potency, a stronger lipid chain than any other fat that we were using. So we switched everything to avocado oil, better in HDL, LDL ratio. So here we are as cooks, right? Not getting all messed up. Holy smokes, these brownies are amazing. We're refining these processes, and these standards of procedure are coming down the pipeline in the state of Arizona.
Right.
Did you
Who
know
knew?
that? Yeah. Did you know that Arizona does $1 million a day in cannabis sales?
I did not know that.
$1 million B2C.
Wow.
B2B, some days business to business, upwards of $2 million.
That's incredible.
I watched 800 pounds of trim go through a dispensary a week ago, about 6 miles from where we're sitting, paid in cash. So,
Unbelievable.
Yeah, just flying through it. Right?
Yeah, and we've talked on this show before about the legalization movement and why it is so important.
Yeah.
I mean, and people who don't advocate for recreational marijuana really just don't understand why even medical patients want the recreational law to pass.
Absolutely.
And a lot of reasons,
Many.
not the least of which is access.
Yeah.
And, eliminating the stigma, having, more options available to people.
And a healthier living.
Healthier living,
lifestyle,
yeah.
So for us to then go into these families' homes, and we work with children and war vets, so we can make things that are very strong for those that have PTSD that can help keep them asleep, to rebuild while you're asleep, which your body should do anyway. And we do the same for children, because when children are having seizures, they're not resting. And when they're on meds, they're not resting either. These children are trapped, and we're allowing the kids a different form of cannabis therapy and giving them a chance to go outside and play. And, then we work on the parents. Because then the mom is like, how do I get off Zoloft, Peyton? I'm on 3 pills a day and I drink Chenin Blanc at night. I'm stressed out. And my husband's out in the garage drinking beer because he's sad that our daughter's sick. I mean, this is a common thing. And I would say more than 50% of the time, the whole family ends up consuming cannabis together.
Wow.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
And once you see that, and once you watch how this happens, it's not stoners downstairs not working, Cannabis actually allows someone like me to be lazy. It allows me to shut off if I smoke indica. If I smoke sativa, or whoever you are and whichever you do, you just have to find out where your cannabinoid balance lies within your endocannabinoid system. And that just happens through legalization and chance.
Right.
Chance is no different at a dispensary or when you go to a doctor's office and they write you a script. Well, we'll start you at 10 milligrams, but we're going to give you 5 milligrams of this, just in case. It's a chance.
Yeah.
It's no different.
And I think what's so remarkable about what you're doing is you're really introducing people into a new way of consumption, number one. But number two, you're saving people a lot of money. Effort, everything else. And you touched on something that I think is interesting. A lot of dispensary owners that I've spoken to say, well, we just don't get into edibles because it's just a whole other business. It's a whole other complex set of things that they need to either carry, or if they're into growing and manufacturing, it's a whole other world to manufacture edibles. And so what you're doing is you're giving people an opportunity to create their own. But there are challenges to that too, such as dosing.
Yep.
And I know that you have a very simple way of explaining the dosing.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we
tell
go
us
over
about
that?
Yeah,
Okay.
tell me, because
So I do a lot
of
cannabis culinary expos. I do them at La Cordon Bleu Culinary School right down here, Arizona Culinary Institute, where we bring in our cannabis from our dispensary. And we bring in jars of cannabis and we teach these kids how not to cook with it, how to respect it, how to understand it. So for this example, I take 1 gram of cannabis. 1 gram equals 1,000 milligrams. If your cannabis is testing, and we're just going to use 20% as easiness of math, if your cannabis is testing at 20% THC, you have 1,000 milligrams, 20% of 1,000 is 200 milligrams. So that means if you have a perfect decarboxylation, 1 gram of that flower is 200 milligrams. So when I hear dispensaries tell me, well, Peyton, we don't want to have a dispensary kitchen. I know. I want to be your dispensary kitchen. That's my lane. I can do this in my sleep. This is a cannabis catering company to me. This
Right.
is no different than any of that. I just have the mechanics figured out to do it on a large scale because of, the city of Arizona or the city of Scottsdale allows us to do things at larger scale than some other cities.
Right.
So when you take this 200 gram, when I go to these dispensaries and I say, well, if you don't want an edible kitchen, let me private label for you, which we do, which I won't even put my label on it. I just want to make sure the community's eating scratch-made edibles with real food. That's it.
Well, and proper dosing.
And proper dosing. So with this 200 milligrams, if you were to bust that up and eat it raw, right? It's been cooked, but without putting it in a fat. If you were just to eat this marijuana, you would get the sickest stomach that you would ever have in your life by eating this because it's part of the thistle family.
Oh.
Nettles, things like this, right? So once you break that, I guess, barrier, getting people to understand you should never grind your butt up and put it in your food because you're going to get sick and your body can't process it the way it can. This is the next crucial stage, is adding it to the fat. Your fat has to be just as warm as your cannabis.
Okay.
So when you pull your your cannabis out, your coconut oil should be on a medium. It doesn't have to be 240 because you're actually just going to let it ride at 190 degrees. So now, instead of eating that 1 gram of 20%, now 200 milligrams, right? Now we're going to add it to the fat, which is your coconut oil.
Right.
So then you have to do the math after that because now you've diluted that 200 milligrams by volume by adding liquid. So then I'll do 1 cup of coconut oil.
Okay.
So now I know a quarter cup is 50 milligrams.
Okay.
1 batch of brownies from Buddy Crocker or Betty Crocker is 1/4 cup.
Okay.
So then I teach people to go down that basic pipeline. It makes 12 brownies. It's roughly 4 milligrams per brownie.
Okay.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, now that we did it with brownies, because everyone wants to go that way, because that's how they relate to cannabis, is through the pot brownie.
Right.
Then I teach them how to do that same thing, but with not coconut oil, avocado oil. So now we have 1 cup at 200 milligrams. Okay, now what? Now we're going to add shallots and lemon verbena and some champagne vinegar and some cracked pepper and some dill. And then we're going to put that over a salad. And now instead of eating a 400-calorie brownie, you're eating a wonderful probiotic-rich salad full of phytonutrients and really great things. So
Right.
I'm taking that time to go through that formula in the person's home. Is it a precise 200 milligrams? No. You lose some of that while it's cooking, which is why we go to C4 Labs. So with C4 Labs, we take our flower off the plant, have it tested, because if there's anything wrong with it, we can't take it any further for processing. So we test the plant for everything, and then we test the oil, and then we test the edible, and then we test the final product before we box it.
Right.
So we have 4 tests that go through to make sure that we are a precise 10 milligrams.
And that is so important.
Yeah. So for us, this is our version of a gummy, which is an Arizona prickly pear gummy.
Okay. So
There's no
what
cannabis.
you're showing me,
this
because
is unmedicated. I didn't bring anything on site. Just so I have to say
I
that.
understand,
My legal
but
team, yeah.
okay. So basically, what you're showing me is a little, almost a gelatin type of square, in the consistency of a gummy bear, really.
Yep.
And that's made from 100% cannabis and
Arizona prickly pears,
prickly pears.
honey,
Okay.
and lemons from this beautiful state.
So it's basically a vegan for those who
It's-
like vegan.
yeah.
And wow. Okay.
So the thing about this is this 1 cube, which is 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch maybe, is that you can cut this into 5 milligram pieces. This cube is 20 milligrams.
Okay.
Which again doesn't mean anything to anyone, but neither did 10 milligrams of Zoloft with 5 milligrams of Percocet until you had that chance to talk to your doctor. This is
Right.
the same thing. What you can do with this is for those that have throat surgery, some of the Sun City people that I've done classes for, I make these for them, and then they pour hot tea over it, and they drink their medication warm.
Okay.
So the immediate bioavailability, because that medicine is already almost your body's temperature, it's turning that into energy right away. And whether that energy is considered medicine or therapeutic or whatever, it's endocrine energy to me. It's turning that motor in your body.
Yeah.
And if this was full of corn syrup and this was full of generic things, your body cannot break it down
Right.
naturally.
I've got a question for you, and
Yeah.
maybe you don't know the answer, but maybe you do. If someone were to take one of those squares and actually suck on it like a lozenge
Yep.
in a way,
Yep.
submucal through your gums and through the interior of your mouth, delivery is always, when you're talking medication, it's always a lot more potent and more direct delivery than putting it through your digestive system. So if someone were to take an item like that and suck on it, is it going to be twice as potent as if they had just...
It won't be twice as potent. You will feel the effects faster.
Faster. Okay, I guess
Because
that's a
of
better
that.
way to say it.
Yeah, it's totally fine. A lot of people don't want that immediate rush. Right? So I tell them this is why you need the salad. It's why you shouldn't be sucking on candy.
Right.
90-some percent of the dispensary kitchens here buy their candy at Costco and they spray it with marijuana spray. It's not even mixed into the edibles.
Oh, that's disappointing to hear. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that.
Yeah, there are a few scratch kitchens here. So what this spray allows you to do is just buy box commercial brownies from large box retailers and then spray it on it and then cut it and then just resell it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so for us, we use, in our brownie, for example, we use Arizona dates as the binder. It's a gluten-free brownie, and this is 40 milligrams.
Right.
And this, if it was medicated, this would be something that on the market right now, this is 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches by maybe 1/4 of an inch. If this was on the market as a brownie, it's 940 calories from our competitor.
Okay.
Same dose.
So it's 940 calories.
Yeah, and you're trying to sell that to someone as a medical patient.
Yeah.
But yet here you have this where we're supporting Arizona small farmers, right, with dates. And
So that means it's probably lower in sugar.
absolutely.
It has good fat, not
Good
bad
fat,
fat.
good fat.
Is that brownie vegan also?
This brownie is vegan. So our line, you can special order. We have our regular brownie, which this has some butter in it, some flour.
Yeah.
Then we have our gluten-free brownie, which is chickpea flour. And then we have our gluten-free vegan brownie. So for me as a cook, I'm not going to tell you how to eat. When I
Right.
went to the Brat House and did the concept at the Brat House, the investors are like, we're doing 13 different sausages and French fries and pretzels. And I said, we need to do salads. You don't eat salads. I know. My wife does.
Yeah.
I'm a dude. I'm from Minnesota. I love sausage. I used to drink beer. I'm going to go there and just crush sausage, right? And sauerkraut.
Yeah.
Ladies aren't going to do that,
Right.
And for us, the same goes with the edibles.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
it's great to accommodate those markets because often they're discriminated against
Yeah,
in
you're right.
so many ways.
Yeah.
And I for one would I really appreciate that you're doing that. Actually,
Well, thanks. And,
Yeah.
and for us, what we're able to do is we are able to come to the market about 12% lower in price with an employee-owned 9-person edible company based out of Williams, Arizona, which is amazing that we can come out and not spray stuff, which is much more affordable, and just buy things at wholesale price from big box places and spray it. But there's no integrity in that.
Right.
I couldn't take my family on vacation knowing that that's what I did to get my family on vacation. That means I don't value anything, right?
Yeah. Well, the
so-
beauty of this movement and the beauty of the fact that it is still illegal federally, which
Yeah.
it's a bummer for so many reasons, but the one benefit is that the grassroots movement actually has a little bit more control on the quality of what is being produced right now,
Yep.
and it's not all about the big buck.
That's a great
although
point.
some are about the big buck, but
Sure.
but I think for the most part, people like you are in this for the right reasons, and it's really to help people
Absolutely.
and to make the product affordable, make it pure and natural, accommodate the needs of people who don't like to consume animal products or people who have dietary restrictions like sugar or gluten or
Yeah.
any of those things. I mean, it's phenomenal. I'm really impressed, honestly, and I. Of course, I like to research my subjects, but that was just something I didn't know
Yeah.
about what it is that you were going to bring to this.
It's neat.
Yeah, it's really neat.
And we're able to go. There's a patient, she's in her 80s, that lives out in the West Valley. She goes through 28 on an average, 28 of these tincture bottles a month, almost one a day. They're $105 for her per day to take, or per bottle for this stuff. So what we did is we took that stuff, took it to a lab, we reverse engineered it, figured out what it was that she needed based on that cannabinoid profile, and then we offered it to the dispensary through them to her at a discounted rate. Then she came back, started buying flowers, and now she consumes cannabis as an edible and also as a flower form.
Right.
Because now she smokes in the morning and she can go off and do her stuff, where before she needed to medicate with this tincture, which is really potent, and she couldn't get out and do stuff.
Just out of curiosity, and don't reveal anything about her, but what is the condition that she's...
Crohn's.
Crohn's disease.
Which at that age, I can't believe that she has Crohn's and she's that old.
Wow.
Yeah. Lupus and Crohn's are two of the ones that are out there that we're helping right now. And the woman that has lupus, we did the same thing with tincture, and we got her on raw cannabis juice, which helps change the pH level of the stomach and the acids and the alkalinity of the stomach, and which changed the way that her body broke down food. So she
enzymes.
She lost some weight. She was able to change her diet a little bit, and that's just by us going in, not Peyton Curry, celebrity chef, blah, blah. That's us going in as a brand, us going in as a community saying, I don't want to take money away from your dispensary, but if we can provide the patient with that same stuff, plus a little bit more, you're not losing money every month, and she's gaining. Well, Peyton, how can you afford to do that? We're really good at farming.
Yeah.
We're really good at it. And for us, we developed those relationships through the dispensary, Route 66 Wellness in Williams, to write them a grocery list, and they give us our stuff from anywhere that we need it.
Wow.
They source it through all these great dispensaries.
That's incredible.
So it's amazing. And I don't have to do any of that stuff. So for me, the fact that our partner is following compliance is key. I don't want to go to jail. I did that as an alcoholic. I don't want to do it as a dad.
Right.
My hair's way too pretty for jail.
Speaking of your hair, I want to just mention something that people may not know about you, but you have these beautiful curly locks that go down below your shoulders, well below your shoulders.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, tell us what you do.
I'm a twin, which I've probably said a couple times. Donate my hair to twin children that have cancer or other ailments. I don't sponsor one particular company anymore. After doing some research and figuring out where it went, we'll actually pay to do it ourselves.
Wow.
And then we'll give children that need some hair, my hair. The only thing I say is don't ever drug test it, because that's an 8-year-old with some interesting hair. So we donate it.
It's a teenager, could get him into trouble.
You're getting
an
in
athlete.
Trouble. Yeah. It's that, it's the good thing to do. And I have weird hair, and I shaved my head all in high school because I have this hair, and I didn't want to rock it. And then once I got sober and I got aware of what life is, not what it was for me, I knew, like, oh my God, if you're going to grow this unique hair that kids either love or hate, because I look like a clown sometimes, to see the moms and the dads that get to see their children that, have real hair. It's not their hair, but it's real hair. It's not synthetic, and it means a lot, and for us,
especially cancer children who lose their hair due to chemotherapy, who I'm sure you meet quite a few doing what you do, because you're probably teaching their mothers how to make them fun food.
We are, and we're teaching them how to make topicals for chemo burn, which is some radiation burn that we see sometimes, and there's no petroleum in it. There's the right way to make stuff, and then there's the way. The right way is to make a profit and make as much as you can and all this stuff. The way is just making it. If we didn't have money and we just made stuff, we would just be making it one way. It's people finding ways of refining and making it more affordable to produce. We don't do that.
Right.
That's why our flour is tested first. If it comes back with powdery mildew, which I've seen on a nationwide level, if it comes back with mites, or if it comes back with some gnarly pesticides, which you can spray on cannabis to grow bigger tomatoes, but you're growing bigger buds instead of tomatoes. It's the same stuff. Yeah. I live in Mesa, the only non-Mormon family in Mesa, in our neighborhood of 2 blocks. We help 2 families, Mormon families, with children with epilepsy.
Wow.
Yeah. It's weird what happens when the neighbors ask what you do for a living. It was strange because they Googled my name first, and then they obviously saw what I do for a living, and I told them, you'll never see me drunk, yelling at anybody. You'll never see me passed out. You'll never see me arguing with anybody, ever. If we have a problem, we're going to do it just the 2 of us, and have a conversation. And my neighbors came over to my house after I put in 14 tons of black dirt so I could grow organic lawn for my daughter. So she didn't have to, wear shoes. And I put in over 100 pounds of worm castings and salmon fish emulsion. And my neighbors are like, what are you doing? I'm growing grass. And they're like, well, we know you do that at work, but why are you doing it this way at home? I said, well, my daughter can walk on this, and before you know it, I'll have the best grass in the lawn. I mean, the best grass in my house and on my lawn. And they laughed hysterically. And my neighbor said, what time does it start smelling good back there? That's what he said. These are Mormons, right? And they're opening up because they know you can flip open my recyclables. My wife loves rosé.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law, every once in a while, will drink a margarita. And me, I'll make them. I'll never drink it. It's just not my thing.
Right. Yeah.
So my neighbors have started this amazing conversation, and now that they know that they can think of it as a vegetable that they can juice, it blows their mind.
Right. Well, and also they become a little less judgmental because
There you go.
I think in the Mormon community, especially, it's very anti-drug, anti-alcohol, and they have a pretty clean existence.
Totally.
Actually, how many of the people that are in that community that actually moved here from Utah because they couldn't treat their children?
Out of the dozen or so children that I've been able to help, I've actually had 3 of the families move out of the state and move to Colorado because of the better.
Oh, move from here.
From here, they moved here initially. But then when the Arizona isn't mandatory lab testing on flowers and any cannabis materials in this state.
Right.
So you can spray anything on them you want. Ugh. So these families with children with autism and ADHD and epilepsy, they had to move because some of their meds had contaminants in them, precious metals and things like this. So they had to move to another state, which, some go to Oregon, some go to Colorado.
Right.
But here, of those 2 families, there are 2 more that have moved here. And one is for the entire family's ailments, and then one is just for the child. So we've developed a relationship with the Kleins at Sun Valley Meds to give free cannabis cards to children.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Flourish gives them free medicine.
Wow.
So Sun Valley Meds, Sun Valley MMJ is where you find them. I don't work for these people. I don't make money off them. I don't do any of that.
No, I appreciate you sharing that, though, because
really
I think that's going to be helpful.
Yeah, to get these partnerships with great people. And Dustin Klein has done, and Andrea's wife, who runs the place, they do amazing things. There's 3 locations across the valley. And with our involvement with Pediatrics, and then our involvement with Sun Valley Meds, my daughter's pediatrician took a 4-month hiatus from running the Naturopathic Institute of Arizona and is working with us for the next 4 months.
Wow.
So Dr. Matthew Baral, Baral, if you look up Dr. Baral, you can see his credentials. He runs pediatrics in this state, both on a natural and a Western medicine side. So on Tuesday, Dr. Baral is going with me to Berkeley to help a 4-year-old boy with some cannabis therapy. So now I get to go with a doctor.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, and now it's not just, Peyton Curry, oh my gosh, I Googled you. You're on the High Times stage all the time. Why are you giving my child cannabis? I wear a shirt that says I feed cannabis to children. Oh, man. I get some looks to it, But it also sparks conversation. It gets people coming up to me saying, what does your shirt mean? And I'll tell them, cannabis is a vegetable. And for children that have lupus and Crohn's that are that young, 7 to 15, we can get in there and we can do some great work.
Yeah. It's amazing to me. But I imagine you would get, especially with all of that beautiful hair.
And my daughter Fiona Julep has the same hair, you know. Mm-hmm. And when I tell people that we do cannabis births and cannabis deaths, like, what do you mean a cannabis birth? And I tell them, my daughter didn't come into this world this way. It wasn't my choice. It's my wife's choice. When we have wives, my wife did a home birth, no Western medicine, no painkillers, nothing.
Wow. It's
amazing.
Just amazing.
It's amazing. I was there for 36 hours. I made food. I made all this stuff, nutrient-rich food, and I cooked for her the whole time. We're in the hospital. They give you a bucket of ice and be like, see you in 4 hours.
Right. A bucket of ice and a spinal tap.
Yeah, exactly. Turn it up to 11.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's a machine.
Yeah. So
and such a cold environment to bring in a child.
Yeah. No, not yay. Bright lights. It's cold and sterile. You have stuff all over you.
Scare the hell out of them. I want to go back.
Yeah, we were talking cats earlier. I think our Maine Coon was on the bed when this one was coming into the world. I mean, it's the beauty, and when moms are out there and they want a natural choice. We have some moms that get some emotional issues while they're pregnant, and the doctors will prescribe Zoloft to a pregnant woman.
Yeah.
And for me, why not offer a cannabinoid-rich vegetable and teach this mother how to keep her food down so she doesn't throw up every morning? You don't have to get blasted.
Right.
But Peyton Curry's mission in Arizona is to make sure that you're getting the right meds. Doesn't have to be from our company, but just the right stuff.
Well, it's a matter of education too. I mean, I remember learning about a friend from a while back, and actually I was in the birthing room with her, and she had some physical issues and medicated herself with cannabis. And a day after her child was born, Department of Children's Services came and took her baby away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it tested positive for marijuana in her urine.
Yep.
And it was the most catastrophic, devastating. You can't imagine what she was going through. I mean, it was just horrifying. But it's just because people are not educated as to, what that in the system of, a newborn would be. But yet, it was necessary for the mother to medicate. So, I don't know. And I think that eventually with people like you out there in the community doing incredibly good things for children, for adults, teaching them how to naturally care for themselves, I think that we're going to start seeing people embrace the concept of legalization and not believing that everybody who wants to legalize is some, wacky pothead surfer dude,
Totally. And for us, we take it even a step further with these mothers that have had the child, right? Babies come into the world. I'm breastfeeding. Things are amazing. My doctor wants me to go back on these SSRIs. Can you do me a favor and just give us a month on cannabis therapy? I'll get you your card. We'll help you through this process. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed you our organic edibles. You're not even going to smoke. I'm going to feed you our organic edibles with cannabis cuisine therapy is now what we're talking about. And then we'll test their breast milk. What do you mean you'll test their breast milk? I'm going to show you that you should not be concerned about your child getting THC at such a point that it's going to make your child psychoactive. The levels of THC will blow your mind once you do these studies. So we're doing a show with ABC called Conscious Cannabis. Conscious Cannabis has been filming for a month and a half, and we are now filming our 4th pilot on Thursday.
Wow.
Because they keep telling me to change it up because it's too progressive. You're teaching people how to manipulate a narcotic, Peyton. I'm talking about moms that don't want to take Zoloft and are having concerns about THC levels.
Right.
So we're constantly changing this up to be able to get it out to the media. And that's why sitting in this chair today, I pulled up in the parking lot at 1 o'clock just to make sure I was here on time. Because this is important to me. Because you give me the opportunity to reach people that I can't do. And I have a face for radio, so it's perfect.
You have a face that would be just fine in television, too. Let me assure you, and I'll assure everyone listening, he's actually a very handsome guy with lots of long hair.
Yep.
So, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really, really happy that you've been able to share this with us today because And hopefully a lot of people will have the chance to listen and understand what it is that you're doing and what you're trying to achieve. And I'm really excited for you to start breaking through some of the dispensaries and letting them see what your amazing products are like. And I'd love to come to a cooking class.
Well, I talked to the staff. We have a female-run kitchen, and we would like to extend our invite to you and your staff to come and cook with us and do a show.
We would love that.
You can see how we do everything. We're a completely open book. If you can take the knowledge you gained from working with us and opening your own business off of what you learned, more power to us, because we're good teachers.
Yeah.
And we just give that open door policy because I would say about 15% of people take us up on that offer.
Right.
And when they do, they're like, why would you ever say no to this? And that's what we tell people.
Yeah.
Don't say no.
Yeah.
Vote yes.
Vote yes.
Yeah.
I know. Well, in Arizona, it's coming up.
Yep.
And a number of other states out there, it's coming up.
Yep.
So we're doing our best to get the word out. But, okay, I want to just open this up for you to tell me what it is that you want people to know most about what you're doing, just your overarching, most important piece of information you could give to anybody out there, whether they're experienced users or newcomers or skeptics or whatever. What is it that you'd like people to know the most?
I need people to research Delta 8, Delta 9, and Delta 11. Because once you get cannabis, marijuana, weed, and pot out of those words, and you research those Delta 8s, Delta 9s, and Delta 11s, you'll understand what happens to your body when you consume cannabis. You'll understand the effects of an edible, which are different from a sublingual tincture, which are different from smoking flower or doing a dab. And I also want people to ask where and when their meds have been tested, because we had this problem with food and the overconsumption and overprocessing and overfarming, and the same thing's happening with cannabis, which means we're wasting water.
Oh, yeah.
Don't waste water. Let's grow up together. Let's do it right.
Yeah.
Don't panic. It's organic.
Don't panic. It's organic.
I'll leave you with that. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm really, really grateful that you're here, and I really can't wait to come and see your kitchen
I'm gonna
and
hold
see
you
what
to
you're
it.
doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please, and let's stay in touch too.
Please do.
We'll find some ways to support one another.
We'll be
I
joint
think.
partners. How about that?
Let's do that. Let's do that. You know what? I tell you, there's strength in numbers. And I think that the more people that can collaborate with one another and try to find ways to spread the word, raise awareness, we can engender more advocacy and acceptance and make this beautiful, sustainable, healthy plant available to whoever needs it.
Right.
Yeah.
Not just
so.
one.
Anyway, well, on that note, I would like to personally thank you so much, Chef Peyton Curry, for sharing your incredible knowledge with us today. Look up some of his recipes on marijuanarecipes.com and also on flourishkitchens.com. And please visit us at thecannabisreporter.com to learn more about this topic and other amazing topics, or subscribe to our weekly podcasts. And if you like what you hear, please rate us on iTunes. The more you rate us, the more we can spread the word to other people. And also, last but not least, I'd like to thank our amazing engineer, Kyle Pratt, at Star Worldwide Networks. And thank you. And thank you all for listening. I'm Snowden Bishop, the Cannabis Reporter, over and out.